Hey, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. And the reason I'm laughing is because I was trying to get everything just right with my chair before I started here because I realized I'd forgotten to set my chair. It's one of those chairs that, leans back. And if I lean back, I'll start rocking and slouching and all that. So I hit the button to lock the chair and the chair goes whoosh. So, it's an idiot thing. It's an idiot thing. I am so glad you're here today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got all sorts of stuff to talk about. First off, a couple of quick things. vMix, golly, is it vMix? I guess it's vMix 17, but we're using vMix 18 today. Well, let me start before that. There's vMix 18. Let me start before that. It's a circular show where I just have to pick apart because it all wraps in together. Let me start here. I really want to tell you about my streaming setup today, but I also have this looks like a smartphone, doesn't it? This looks like a Samsung Galaxy S6, I think, Edge, but really it's an NDI camera. Yes, it is. And I'm going to use that to show you my setup today. So let me go ahead and get this camera app fired up, and you can't see it from there, so I'm not going to even bother to show you. And I have to turn it on, and then I have to add an input. I guess I could have done all this in advance, but it's just one of those things. There it is, local host. Okay, and then let's turn it on high def. And I'm going to turn off the mic because I'm going to use my own mic, but it does have a mic. All right, so this is, hey, yeah, there we go. This is my setup today. So we've got dual monitors, 24-inch monitors, and there'll be a little jump because the camera works on Wi-Fi, obviously. I'm not using the Behringer UMC 404 HD today, although you can see my little YouTube guy. Yeah, there we go. No, he's not my YouTube guy. Sorry, he's my vMix guy. Instead, I'm using the Behringer X 1204 USB, although I want to try to start using the UMC for the broadcast. You can see on vMix that we're streaming down here, and let's see if we can't make that focus a little better. There we go. But we're not recording because the streaming and the recording are happening over here on the laptop. And so the laptop is streaming to Facebook and to YouTube and recording. It's streaming 720 to Facebook and 720 to YouTube and recording 1080. And it's doing, let's see if we can tell here. About 24%. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad. And we'll come back over here to the production PC, and we'll see it's running about 25%, streaming to Periscope and producing the whole show. Really not bad. I'm using multiple tabs, as you can see, some more than others. That's my pre-show tab right there. And that's my show tab over there, the red one on the left. So we'll go back to that. So that's just a quick overview of what we're doing today. So we'll turn this camera off. Camera's off. And we go, whoa, we didn't mean to go there. Let's go here instead. Sorry about that. Now, the camera is really pretty cool. Well, it's going to show you my hand. Let's make it switch around. Yeah, there we go. And I guess, is there a way to really show you how this thing works? I guess I could. Well, I really can't. You'll need to go and just download the app. It's $20. If you need a camera in a form like this, it's going to be a good camera. I think when I go, no, actually this one's not, I don't think this one's skipping at all. John L. says that it generates about 10 megs on Wi-Fi. So most Wi-Fi networks should be able to keep up. And that should be true. I haven't tested it a whole lot other than to say, hey, wow, this is cool. Let's turn it on. Let's figure out how everything works. It's got settings for standard definition and high definition, for front camera and for rear camera, to turn the mic off and on. It will turn the, let's turn to front facing. It will turn the light on. That's pretty cool. It has a little grid form. I don't know if you can see the grid there. Oh, well, I guess it's my hand is in the way. That helps you line up your shots. It's got a zoom bar. It will zoom, and then it's got the ability to change the exposure. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Definitely worth $20, I think. I am on 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi rich, I think. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so what we're doing with that today is we just brought it in as a camera. It's a cool little app. It's produced by New Tech, so they're going to get the bucks for it. But it's definitely another tool for your tool bag in terms of, let's say you're in a sports venue and you want to do a quick and dirty interview with somebody down on the field. You take your camera down there and shoot. You can even plug a mic in if your phone, obviously, if you have an iPhone 7. I don't think you've got one of these in it, do you? But the Samsungs do. And you can get your interview right there, as if you were a sideline reporter, assuming that you've got a Wi-Fi network there that you can communicate back to your production PC with. So it's just going to be a lot of fun to have something like that. Rich is saying, great to have and pass around a crowd. I don't know that I would pass it around with you guys. I might not get it back. Oh, y'all are funny. And so we'll see some more for that. And folks have been asking about me doing a studio tour, and this is probably would be a great way to do a live studio tour, is to use this phone and be able to carry it around and have the microphone built into it so you could hear me at the same time. We'll put that on the account. Yeah, and Chris is saying it's great as long as it's not a Note 7. If it was a Note 7, it wouldn't be here. It would be in a box going back to Samsung somewhere. Today we are also using the vMix. We're using vMix 18, which is what they call a preview edition. Really, that's just a fancy way of saying a beta, which is just a nice way of saying, hey, if it doesn't work, it's not our fault. It's not done yet. And so there are a lot of folks like me that are testing out the beta just to see how it's going to work, because I like living dangerously. And I don't think I'm living that dangerously, because it seems to be doing really well. It's the current version, in case you're wondering. Last time I checked was, again, vMix 18 preview .0.0.52. .49 had some problems with it, so if you downloaded that one and said, oh, this is awful, download 5.2 and have fun with it. You can download 18.0.0.52 and then revert back to 17 or 16 if you're a 16 guy, with no penalty. Just be aware that sometimes that a preset that you set up in version 16 might not work in version 18, and vice versa, that kind of thing. So, save all your presets. Go ahead and save them. In version 17, they just added streaming to Periscope. Now, streaming to Periscope, which also, since Periscope is owned by Twitter, also means streaming to Twitter. We're doing that today. We're doing that here from the production PC. We're doing it with vMix. Let me take a second and show you what it looks like, because it's kind of cool, at least on this end. But on the other end, well, let me not get ahead of myself. All right, so this is what my desktop looks like today. You can see down here in the bottom bar is the stream. We'll see if we can pull up those settings. And you can't really, I don't think you can see my settings, which is good because otherwise it means you could steal them. This is the a custom RTMP server, and then there's a URL and a stream name that you get from Periscope. And you also have to, can we get into that? No, we can't get into that setting, but this setting right here is where we would have to set the screen height to 540, which is a Periscope recommendation, and 800K BPS as the bit rate per Periscope's recommendation. So let's close that. And then let's see, can we turn our camera back on without having to put a new app, a new input in vMix? Let's see, does that activate the camera? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's put the camera back on HD. Oops, I keep hitting the front-facing, rear-facing button and wondering why I'm not getting HD. All right, so let's take a look here at this is actually my wife's old iPhone. Give her a big shout out right here. And slide, and I don't want to show you her password, even though it's an old phone. And then let's go to oops, doggone it, I'm just not an iPhone person. So let's go to Periscope, and let's see if we can't get this in better focus here. There we go. So this is my account. Oh, it even shows me. How about that? That's pretty cool. And so what I really want is that I want this little icon right here, these little face icons. And then I want to go to this icon up here, whatever that is. Did that work? I don't think it did. Let's try again. There we go. So that's my page. And then I'm going to scroll down to settings. I mean, you have to go deep in the menus here to get things done. And then I've got like 3 screens I'm watching here. Advanced sources, bingo. Now, I'm broadcasting now, but earlier there was a button right there that said Start Broadcast. And, whoops, you're not supposed to see all that. Anyway, how about that? There we go. I don't care. You can stream on a Periscope account if you want to. Just don't stream bad stuff. Or stuff that's worse than mine, let me put it that way. And so this is where you actually start the stream. Now, you've started the streamer in vMix already at this point, but in order to make the stream go at this point, that's where you have to, did I turn this audio on? Sorry about that. Yeah, there we go. I let the camera audio go on by accident. Let's turn that sucker off. Yeah, I had on follow. So you guys probably had an audio echo there as a voiceover. Okay, well, that's good. So it's a voiceover and not a big echo. That's interesting. I'll have to go back and listen to see if it comes out on the recording. I guess it will. So this is where you actually start the broadcast. I guess you could stop it here too, but you can also stop it just by cutting out the stream there in vMix. Just hitting the stream button, and then pow, it's gone. But you have to, here's the bottom line. You have to have an iPhone with the Periscope app on it in order to be able to do this. You can't have an Android at this point. If all you have is an Android, you're SOL. It's just not going to happen. I guess you could have a friend that had an iPhone, and you could hope that they had a Periscope account. And of course, you would have to have a Periscope account of your own. So all of that is just a long way of saying, I think it's a pain in the butt. I don't think it's going to be that great. But, you know, I thought the same thing about Facebook Live when it started. And, you know, I wasn't impressed with Facebook Live. And turns out Facebook Live has been a great format for a lot of people. So I'm probably wrong about Periscope and Twitter, too. And if you're a Twitter guy or you're a Periscope gal and you're mad at me right now, I apologize. But, you know, it's hard to say. And as Amnon was saying earlier, you know, who wants to watch something like this on Periscope? I mean, it's a square screen. But the other part of it is it's kind of an entry. It's kind of the foyer. It's the front porch to your show. So if somebody will show up in Periscope, to watch the show for a few minutes. Maybe you can invite them in to your website, like my website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, where you can see the chat today. If you're watching us on Periscope or Twitter right now, you're not getting the chat. I mean, the chat, where's the chat? Here's the chat. Here's what the chat looks like. This is the chat in our pre-show format. But you have to go to easternshorebroadcasting.com in order to see the chat, because I'm not going to give up all this real estate right here during the show. Anyway, that's Twitter. That's what the other one is, Periscope. And it may be the right tool for a job that you have to do. It works. It seems to work pretty well. So there we go. And Giles says that Twitter and Periscope do go 16:9 when you click on the video. That's right. That's right. All right. Moving right along. Streaming to Periscope and Twitter. We're doing that here on our production PC. We're doing Facebook and YouTube on the remote PC. But remember, we had Rudy Ellis with Switchboard.live on the show about, 3 or 4 months ago. Switchboard.live is the one that has the feature called Joycaster that you send them one stream and they send it out to all these different places, like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Periscope, etc. And I think in the long run, I mean, if you're interested in doing multiple streams repeatedly, I think you're going to find this little process with this blasted iPhone kind of cumbersome, and you're going to say, forget it. It's too much trouble to do that every week. I want one button. And Switchboard Live is going to be one button. It's, $10 a month, and, they may have a discount that they can give you for, I think you get a free month, and then it's $10 a month after that. So that's probably worthwhile, depending on what you want to be doing. I will probably not be doing Twitter and Periscope again regularly. There might be some special occasions where I would do it, but I wouldn't do those each time we stream. We'll continue with the Facebook and the YouTube and streaming those from here. I've got the bandwidth for it, so at least I think I have the bandwidth. Yeah, it looks like we're doing okay on bandwidth. So we've talked about the camera app. We've talked about the Periscope and Twitter on the iPhone. And we talked about Switchboard Live. Let's talk just for a minute about the 4K project I've got working on. I was approached by an organization that has a main facility and 2 remote facilities that are 30 or 40 miles away. And they have a fiber connection to those remote facilities. And they want to be able to do whatever they're doing in their main facility and then have that available for video in the remote facility on 4K with like 0 latency. Oh boy, that's that. Now we're talking. That's the key to this whole thing is latency. So with Martin and Tim's show earlier, well, I guess it was last month now that we're in November, the October Fun Time live show from vMix, they produced it in 4K, they recorded it in 4K, they had a 4K NDI connection there in their studio, but they broadcast it in 1080p, and I think they broadcast it on YouTube so you could watch it at whatever resolution you wanted. I've set up the same test here in my studio. Again, my PC, well, I've got this little guy right here, this Asus is probably the most powerful PC I've got in the studio. The streaming machine, the production PC that we're using right here, this is a 2nd generation i7. So this is the 2600K, overclocked, tweaked just a little bit, but still it doesn't have all the bullets that the Asus does. It's got I think it's got a 750 Ti card in it, the NVIDIA, whereas this one's got the 970. So there's more horsepower back here than there is up here. And I said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. So thanks to James from Down Under, he gave me the idea of just downloading a 4K file And so I sent that 4K file from my production PC to my laptop over my network. Now my network is yes, there's a wireless network here, but we're not using anything wireless in the studio except my laptop that I use for email. Different laptop. But I've got a gigabit switch that I'm using here in the studio itself that's connected then to the internet. So here in the studio, I'm all gigabit. When I go out to the world, obviously I'm not gigabit anymore. So the connection between this PC and this laptop is a gigabit connection. That's important because a 4K video feed with vMix 18, and you can measure it by going into Windows Task Manager and using the Performance tab, and you can see what your Ethernet usage is. It uses anywhere from 150 to 210 megabits per second to transfer the video, to play video, a 4K video, from one machine to the next. So obviously it's not going to work on a 100 meg network. Not even close. Well, I take that back. Oh, I did. I was experimenting the other day, and I didn't realize how important. Oh, I'm such an idiot. This looks like an Ethernet cable, doesn't it? It's got the RJ45 on this end, RJ45 on that end. Boy, there's a shocker, isn't it? And somewhere written on here in fine print, it says Cat 6. And I picked up a cable and connected it to my laptop, and I couldn't figure out why I was only getting 100 megabits of communication with the network. I thought, oh man, my laptop's broken, my switch is broken. I'm ready to do all this heavy-duty troubleshooting. And I got an email from Martin Sinclair, the CEO of vMix, on a different subject. And he says, oh, by the way, make sure all your cables are Cat 6 if you're doing any 4K testing. Well, I looked at the cable. It looked new, but it wasn't Cat 6. It was Cat 5, and that's why I was only getting 100 megs. So replace the cable. I'm back to a gig. Let that be a lesson to you. It takes an idiot to find out those good lessons. So we're communicating well now. I set up a test this morning where where the laptop is sending to the production PC 4K. That was really, really cool. So I can't wait to go out maybe next week to this potential client and demonstrate to them how they can use 4K over NDI. Remember, NDI is like negative latency almost. They can use 4K over NDI to transfer a near instantaneous video signal back to the remote locations. Now my plan is to say, okay, we can do all that with NDI. vMix has probably the best implementation of NDI in any software that does 4K. Because remember, TriCasters don't do 4K at this point. If they do, I think it's probably against the law. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head. So we are going to propose to them a complete 4K setup where they've got 4K production. They're sending a 4K feed out to these remote facilities. And oh, by the way, the remote facilities want to send a 4K feed back to them so that what can be seen in the main facility can be seen in the remote facility, and what can be seen in the remote facilities will be seen in the main facilities. And so I think they're trying to get everybody on the same page as if everybody was in the same room at the same time. I think that's going to be cool. They also want to play music, and I don't know that that's going to work. I mean, if you've got a third of a second delay in my video coming to you, that's not a big deal. As long as I'm in sync, audio and video, the fact that it takes a third of the second or 10 frames to get to you is not a big deal. But if you and I are trying to sing together, number one, you don't want to hear me sing. But number two, it's not ready. Let's put it this way. It is not that fast yet. Chris says in the chat room that he's looking forward to a negative 5-minute latency. You could probably make some money on that. Tommy says it would be great for horse races. There you go. So I'll keep you abreast of that test. My hope is that we'll actually get on site on that facility next week or the week after, and make some tests between at least their main facility and one of the remote facilities. We'll have to see how that goes. So I know you'll want to keep up with that. Even if you don't do 4K, or if you're not thinking about 4K today, let me tell you why you need to pay attention to this. When I started doing these shows back in July of 2012, Amnon Nissan, who is one of the folks here in chat today, was one of my very first guests. He may have been my very first guest. If you go to my YouTube page and look, you'll see some of those old shows. They're horrible. Don't go back and look at them. You'll decline. You'll stop following this page. But they're a good learning tool, and they were all standard definition. And people would ask me all the time, Tom, what about HD? What do you think about HD? And I said, I just don't see the value of HD. Really, in what we're doing, this kind of talk show-ish format, even for sports, it's really the audio that's going to be the big deal, because you're watching on a computer screen or an iPhone or an Android phone screen or an iPad or a tab or something like that. It's not a big deal. Well, now with Chromecast and Hulu and all of these other devices that allow you to connect, and I guess smart TVs too, where you can connect your TV to the internet and you can see these shows, high definition became more important. So I reluctantly moved to high definition. Fortunately, you know what a cheapskate I am. Fortunately, the cameras that I was using for standard definition with my good old Osprey card, those cameras, those Canon HFR 100s, would work with HD. And so we got the appropriate hardware, a couple of Blackmagic Intensity Pro cards, and so we had HD. And we've been going HD, I guess, maybe 2.5 years, maybe 2 years, something like that. We're about at that point where we did SD about half the time, and we're HD about half the time. And somebody asked me the other day, Tom, are you going to do your show in 4K? And I said, why would anybody ever want to see me in 4K? And I realized I was using the same excuses for 4K that I had used for HD. So I am now prepared, at least mentally. I don't know that my cameras are not going to make the leap, but I'm prepared mentally to say at some point I'm going to have to take my show up to 4K, because number one, you guys really need to see what this face looks like in 4K. Yeah, like you do that. But I need the experience, and I want to be able to offer you the experience so that we can kind of go on this journey together as we moved from standard definition to high definition, as we move from high definition to 4K, and then whatever is even beyond. Somebody posted something on my YouTube page the other day and called me, and what did they say? They were so happy to see somebody old like me that was embracing technology. I'm like, look, dude, I was back in the CPM days. Don't give me this embracing technology stuff. Golly. Anyway, it was good for a chuckle. And I sent him back a cute little note. And you can, if you follow me on YouTube, eventually you'll probably run into that comment. We're getting close to the end of the show here. We may be a minute or two over, but bear with me. This morning in California, Streaming Media West, the folks that do the Streaming Media Magazine, had their Streaming Media West big trade show and conference. And this morning at their breakfast, they announced the winners of the Streaming Media Reader's Choice Awards. Now, vMix was a finalist in 3 different categories. Unfortunately, they didn't win any of them. But I think last year they were a finalist in just 1 or 2 categories, and they were actually also a gold sponsor of the whole event. So vMix is making inroads. As I told my friend Stephen Haywood this morning, he was kind of ribbing me because Wirecast had beat vMix. I said, look, dude, you need to learn how to speak Australian because you're going to need it before long. vMix is on the move. Look out. And actually, vMix just got to 5,000 subscriptions on their YouTube page. So if you want to keep up with the latest in vMix, the official latest in vMix, if you want to keep up with the unofficial stuff, come here. But if you want to keep up with the official stuff, go to subscribe to the vMix page on YouTube. They've got 5,017 subscriptions as of this morning. And hey, we broke 2,500 last week. Thank you for that. Last I checked, we were at 2,524 with new subscriptions from Adonai TV, John, Lucas, Classic TV Ads. This is one of my favorites. Fit and Fab at 40. What about Fit and Fab at 60? Actually, it's Fit and Flab at 60. Alfredo, Mojama, Andre, Tony, Grincy Cat 70, Mincy, Roy, Green Man Video, Matt, Francesco, and Faith United Methodist Church in Brandon, Florida, have all subscribed since last week. So thank you guys for subscribing. We love having you on the show. Somebody says I need to clean my glasses. That's for sure. So we're delighted that you guys would join our YouTube channel. For those of you that haven't, we'd love to have you come to Eastern Shore Broadcasting's Facebook page. If you go to easternshorebroadcasting.com, you can do the Facebook thing. I think there's also a link there on the front page where you can give us your email address so that we can send you all sorts of spam. No, not really. We only send out important stuff and good stuff that's worth getting an email. So if you haven't gotten an email from me lately and you're on that list, it's probably because I haven't felt like there was anything that significant that I needed to tell you. Although vMix 18 beta did come out, so I probably should. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Coming up on this show, from time to time we have guests on the show, and we have one of our own on that will be a guest on November 30th. And that's going to be Rich Ignacio. Rich is, as you probably, you may not know. Rich, he's an IBM guy by day, but nights and weekends he works for Pro Watercross, and he travels the country streaming jet ski races. So if Rich is in the chat room, please post a URL. But we're going to have him on the show November 30th. And what he does from IBM might give us some good stuff too, because he is a project manager for their cloud services division. So, he's kind of getting it on both sides. It's good stuff. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've been after him for 6 months. Rich is the one that had that one YouTube video. There it is, prowatercross.com. Rich had the YouTube video that ended up having like 50 million hits on it. I mean, it was astounding. So we'll get him to talk about that in addition to everything else. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're definitely over time now. My apologies. If you're watching us live, the last one in the chat room has to bring refreshments. So we're fixing to go to the after show. So we need to figure out who showed up live because we've got a bunch of people there. And I'm sorry I didn't welcome you guys earlier. Oh, man, I forgot all about it. Well, I'll do that when we go to after show. If you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube directly or Periscope, you can continue to watch this and you'll get the chat. But you can also go to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, click the Watch Live button. It's not really a button. It's just a little part of the menu at the top. And you can watch us live and have the chat too. And if you're watching us on something bigger than this, you can actually see what the chat says, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I guess we're done. I got to cue up the closing here. It has been a treat to be with you today. I hope you'll be with us next week. And what day is it next week? It's Tuesday next week. Next week's show. Excuse me, goodness gracious, it's my lemonade. Hold on a second. Got to have some lemonade. There we go. That's part of the snacks at the post show. Next Tuesday, 3 o'clock Eastern. It'll be a one-off Tuesday show. Please subscribe to us on YouTube so that way you'll get a notice whenever we're going live or doing or have just posted something live. You can follow us on Periscope too. I'm not sure we'll do much with Periscope. I do post a lot of stuff on Twitter saying about what's coming up and interesting things going on in the industry. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, we've got a link at easternshorebroadcasting.com, both to Facebook and to Twitter to make that easy for you. So it's been a heck of a lot of fun being with you tonight, this morning. I've got Prashana watches from Nepal, so it's like 2 o'clock in the morning there. Hat tip to you. Thank you for watching. And again, another hat tip to my wife, Sandy, for loaning me her old iPhone that she wasn't using so we could do the Periscope thing today. So until next time, I'm Tom Sinclair, the streaming idiot, and we'll have plenty more idiotic things to come in the future. Bye. That wasn't a bad show. Yeah.